Hello everyone, this is Ryan FS here, and today is going to begin a multi-part series of the PMTG 777s. It's going to be a 6-part series, including this part, which this part's going to be part 0. And so I just want to quickly go ahead and introduce everyone to the plan for all 6 parts. Of course, we're starting off now with part 0, which we're essentially going to go ahead and give you all an overview of the series and what to expect in different parts. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So part 1, we're going to talk about the FMC. Why are we doing the FMC first? Well, in order to have a smooth flight in the 777, it's really best to have that thing set up properly, right? And so we are going to set up the FMC, and that's going to be in part 1. Okay, it's going to be about 20 minutes. I'm going to aim to have that out in about a week, so on the 24th is going to be when I aim to have that out. Of course, all these are estimates. Of course, it might end up being 25 minutes. It's far more important for me to get the information out to y'all than to abide by like a 20-minute guideline. However, I do understand that not everyone has an hour and a half to watch a whole complete guide for an aircraft, right? Nor does anyone really want to, right? So I'm gonna try to make each part as short as possible. All right, so looking at the FMC, we're going to talk about initial setup, direct waypoints, wind data fixes, RNAV holds, SID/star, so essentially departure procedures and arrival procedures. Second flight plans. We're going to talk about takeoff data, which will come up again in part 2. And then we're also going to talk about CPDLC. Okay. Speaking of part 2, let's go ahead and talk about what's going to be in part 2. Part 2 is going to essentially be a standard start procedure. So taxi out, takeoff, climb. Right. We'll talk about takeoff data again, overall startup. All right. We're going to skip a lot of the initial setup of the FMC because we are already going to go through that in part 1. Right. But I'll bring up the parts that we need to bring up. Okay. Taxi, climb out procedures, and of course takeoff briefings. Right. Now, it's important while I'm going through this to note that I'm not exactly going to go in any specific order, right? I'll go in the order that makes sense, right? I was just making this a little checklist, kind of, for me, just to tell everyone what to expect. It's not going to be in any specific order. Part 3, we're going to be talking about cruising. So that's going to include step climbs, oceanic clearances, alternates, the fuel temperature, which I'm including the fuel temperature now because it's important to keep an eye out, especially as we're in the colder months. Right. And I'm putting it in here, but it'll take 5 seconds for me to cover. Right. And then overall the timing of briefing. So like when do you perform your descent briefing? Right. And then part 4 is going to be landing, taxi and descent, and shutdown. Right. So we're talking about how to perform a proper descent briefing. We'll talk about ILS approaches, both Cat1 and Cat3. We'll talk about RNAV approaches, visual approaches, right? Stars and the difference between regions, because there are differences between star arrivals here in the U.S. and over in, let's say, Europe. Okay, we'll talk about taxi-in and shutdown procedures. And yes, there's an official shutdown procedure. And then in part 5, we'll go through it all in one go. Okay, we'll perform my favorite route, which is going to be Baltimore Heathrow. We'll talk about citizen, star sense, right? We'll do an ILS approach. Of course, we're going to have an Oceanic cruise, right? So we're essentially going to put all of this here together in part 5, right? Now, let's go ahead and come over here to the aircraft, right? This is how I'm going to, when it comes to especially part 2, so the part on startups, this is the way we're going to start it up, right? So when you first get your 777, right, everything will be on. Everything but the engines will kind of be on, right? We're going to start from cold and dark with the ground power unit. So what I want you, if you already own it and you're looking for a guide and you've on how to actually begin to get the aircraft set up. Right, set up the nice way. What I want you to do is I want you to go into menu, just press and hold it. If it's cold and dark, right? If it is, if it's already up, you just have to press it once. Go into PNG setup. Right. Panel save. Or sorry, my bad. Startup state. And then we're gonna come where it says cold dark GPU. Right. So cold and dark ground power unit. Make sure that's selected, right, and that'll mean that you are setting up the aircraft from this, right, from this state where you have the ground power unit already accessible to yourself, but nothing else is on, right? And then the other thing I want you to do, which I'll go ahead and cover this again in the FMC, right, go to electronic flight bag, just make sure, okay, wrong button, just go ahead and just like my Hoppy and SimBrief ID, but whatever. Go ahead and make sure you have a Hoppy ID, right? Make sure it's connected up to SimBrief. Okay. And then the other thing that I want you to do is, I want you to go ahead and update your nav data, right? So currently I'm on ARIAC cycle 2513. I'll probably have to update it by the time I get a chance to film the FMC part, right? But just go ahead and make sure your nav data is updated, right? And I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and show everyone how to install that right now. It's just as simple as reinstall nav data, and that'll automatically go out to the interwebs and grab updated nav data for you, right? But this is important, right? Especially because when it comes to stars and SIDS, right? If you don't have updated nav data, you might be missing a lot of them, right? So I know that by default, if you don't have updated nav data, you won't see like the new Grid 2 hotel arrival for Heathrow, which is a pretty important arrival. So, and then you might also get told like go direct to this waypoint, right? And you might not be able to find that waypoint if you don't have updated nav data. So, just important to note, make sure your nav data is up to date, right? It takes 30 seconds or so to get up to date. I do not believe you need a Navcraft subscription, but I'm going to recommend to everyone now. It helps. Yeah, I don't believe you need a Navcraft subscription, but if you can afford the $10 per month, I recommend it. So, anyway, that's all I have for part 0 of this. You can expect a full FMC overview, hopefully within about a week. Right, and hopefully I can limit it to about 20 minutes. But there's a lot to do in the FMC. Right, but anyway, that's going to do it for me for right now. I hope you all enjoyed the series. Right, it'll take me about a month to get out, to be honest. But anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next one. So long.